Hi, Assalamu alaikum. In this video, we will understand about the dietary restriction. So, what is the dietary restriction? Means we will understand about that and how it can increase the lifespan and overall body health. So, let's understand about the scientifically aspect of the dietary restriction and what is the outcome of the dietary restriction. This is the important topic we will understand in this video. So basically when you will not intake food, so we will focus on the cellular level and what will be happen in the cellular level. So we will also understand and we will understand about the physical aspect like overall the body physiology change. So let's understand about that things. So basically the dietary restriction mean you will not eat even and sometimes you will not drink, but the intermittent fasting involve the drinking of the low caloric basically zero caloric fluid like water. So and electrolyte, basically electrolyte is the zero caloric but their function for the physiology homeostasis, so that is important thing. So basically dietary restriction is the process in which you will not eat, so you will stop the eating. That means you are going to the fasting, so remember that thing. And in this way your cell will change because cell in the form of two state regard to the nutrient. So number one is the nutrient rich condition and the second is the starvation mode. So when you will restrict the diet, stop the diet and stop the eating, you will go into the fasting and it means you are not intaking the calories. So you are in the state of zero calorie. So your internal body will change. First, we will understand about the internal body physiology during the nutrition, during the intake of food. So when you will intake food, so it means that you are eating the calories like carbohydrate, protein, fat, so all these things, which all these things will trigger the insulin and basically insulin. So insulin trigger, so insulin basically is the anabolic hormone, so it will target endocrinally target to the several tissue for deposition of all nutrient which that you eat when absorbed and go into the blood circulatory system, and that will absorb into the cell like tissue like muscle, liver and fat adipose tissue. So your when you will intake more glucose, protein, in this way these will trigger the pancreas, the beta cell of pancreas, to release more insulin. And this insulin is basically target to the several tissue, when target to the several tissue to increase the lipogenesis, increase due to the glut channel open, and that all nutrient will be drained into the tissue from the blood. So in this way the low level of the nutrition in the blood, so in this way the hypoglycemia will occur and the lipids will decrease, even the hypoproteinemia will occur in the blood. So remember that things, and all these things will be extra will enter into the cell. So when enter into the cell, so basically the insulin is insulin dependent movement of the molecule, movement of the nutrient into the cell. Then let's understand about and focus on the cell. So when you will starvation mode, that is different, but you are when nutritional mood, when you will eat more, so the nutrient rich condition will occur in the cell, and in this a rich amount of the amino acid, a rich amount of the upper fat, and rich amount of the glucose. These all these things will trigger the mTOR pathway, and this mTOR pathway is the major homeostasis, and in this the mTOR pathway will trigger while the AMPK pathway will be down regulate. Why? Because this is we will understand in the session of the diet restriction. So dietary restriction, but first of all we are understanding about that. So in this way the AMPK will decrease while the mTOR will increase. and sirtuin one gene activation will inhibit. mTOR will convert into the Richter and Raptor protein separation, which that is complex of mTOR, complex mammalian target of rapamycin. This is known as a whole name, the mTOR. So mTOR will target to the several genes like the ras and mice gene activation, and this gene basically also involve upregulation, if occur, will lead to cause cancer. So our cell will be in the stage of cancer. So what is the meaning of this? Basically mTOR will not inhibit and not autophagy will occur due to the mTOR if the DNA of the cell will damage, rather than it should be apoptosis, and will lead to clear that damaged cell, and the healthy cells should be maintained and survive, but this function will not occur. That is why when you will go into the fasting, so it will work alternate. So in this way basically we will understand. So in this way the cancer causing gene, a cancer causing agent will activate due to the intake of food and nutrient rich condition, and this nutrient rich condition will work only chronically, when you will not break, when you will not stop the eating, when you will not intake again and again, which that will lead to cause cancer. But this is not only cancer, even the inflammation, the allergic reaction, and other disease, autoimmune disease, and other progressive disease, chronic inflammation, and the chronic disease, and other syndrome which that appear due to the more and more intake of the food. So let's understand about now the dietary restriction, which that is our topic. So remember, so when you will go diet restriction, so your self basically when you will not intake food, so your body physiology first we will understand, then we will understand the cellular structure and cellular function. So in glucagon will produce rather than the insulin production, and the function of the glucagon as well as epinephrine produce also, and in this way it will target to the several tissue like adipose tissue and the muscle tissue, the muscle cell, and liver cell, which that target this glucagon to upregulation the glucose, even the gluconeogenesis from the lipid. First we will understand the liver. So the liver produce more glucose from the glycogenolysis, while the insulin trigger the glycogenesis. So the glucagon will lead to glycogenolysis, and in this way when glycogenolysis will produce more glucose, whenever you will not eat, it's okay, not problem, because the glucose will uptake from into the blood from the liver and muscle, same mechanism. And on the other hand, the proteolysis will occur later on, not earlier. So in this way, when you will not intake food, so your glycogen deplete. When glycogen will deplete, also glucagon will target to the adipose tissue. But during the fasting state, dietary restriction, the caloric restriction, the growth hormone also trigger. Why growth hormone is triggering? Because growth hormone want to survive the cell, which that is healthy. Why? Growth hormone will not target to that cell, which that is basically damaged. So in this way basically the growth hormone will trigger, so the growth hormone triggering mechanism, in this way basically growth hormone target to the adipose tissue to lipolysis. That is a long process, we will not understand about that, but the lipolysis will trigger, and when lipolysis will trigger, so the lipids convert into the triglyceride into the fatty acid as well as glycerol. These fatty acid and glycerol enter into the blood in the form of low density lipoprotein. Scavenger receptor used in the liver to scavenge these lipids, and then it will process to produce the cholesterol, and this cholesterol will go into the kidney, sorry, go into the also kidney, but we will understand the major gonads, so the testes and ovary. Ovary produce estrogen for female and testosterone produced from the male, and also dihydrotestosterone for the function well as a masculine and feminine. So in this way, your testosterone will target to the cellular level the DNA, bind with the DNA to, because it is a lipid soluble, so it will bind with the DNA to express certain gene which that is important for the growth and development. That is why the growth and development will occur without eating, so the dietary restriction. Let's understand about the cellular mechanism. So whenever the restriction of the diet, in this way the inside of the cell will not uptake of the glucose more, because how? Because insulin not produced, so insulin is responsible for the opening of the GLUT channel and other protein movement. So the protein amino acid transferase enzyme function and other. So in this way, the insulin basically not produce while the glucagon will produce. So in this way, the GLUT channel will not open. So the inside of the cell will hungry, and in this way, the nutrient deprivation is the dietary restriction will trigger the nutrient deprivation. And in this way, the nutrient deprivation or nutrient dietary restriction will lead to deficiency of the nutrient inside of the cell. So let's understand about the DNA damage containing cell and the healthy cell. So the AMPK pathway will trigger due to the low level of the ATP released from the mitochondria, less because less nutrient, less glucose. So the aerobic respiration will not occur, more because the glucose is not present. In this way, the basically normally function the mitochondria. Remember, the AMPK pathway which that trigger due to the nutrient deficient activity, and in this way the mTOR will inhibit due to the AMPK pathway activation. On the other hand, the SIRT1 gene will activate, the SIRT1 gene basically activate to also inhibit the mTOR pathway. On the other hand, the AMPK which that activate the inhibit the mTOR but activate the certain gene which that is important for the autophagy. If remember that thing, if the cell will damage, so AMPK pathway is the sensor for the checking the either cell is damaged or not. If the damage, so it should be clear through autophagy. Autophagy is that gene will activate to certain gene which that is basically apoptosis and the recycle of that protein. So let's understand about the healthy cell. So for healthy cell, the AMPK pathway will basically trigger during the nutrient deprivation condition or dietary restriction. In this way, the nutrient dietary restriction for that healthy cell which that contain a normal DNA, not damaged, even normal mitochondria, the normal mitochondria DNA. So that cell is too much important for further replication, because that is important, and so that is for normal homeostasis. So that is why if the abnormal cell will proliferate and develop, so which that will obviously cause cancer. So that is why AMPK is the sensor and check that, and it asserts one gene also activate which that basically trigger the those certain gene which that is basically prepare the DNA, and the further the healthy cell will maintain. On the other hand, the biogenesis of the you know about that biogenesis of the mitochondria. So the mitochondrial quality, which that and increase the number of mitochondria for oxidative respiration, aerobic respiration will increase. In this way, the overall health of the cell will maintain and survive the healthy cell, while the unhealthy cell will recycle or autophagy. And in this way, apoptosis will occur, and that apoptosis basically is due to the injured cell apoptosed. And for example, I will give the example. For example, you are going into the gym and exercise hard work, so you are breaking down the myofibril. In this way, you are getting the injury in the cell. For example, when you will eat more and more food but don't fasting, so what will be happen? Basically, when you will not fasting, so it means that myofibril, injured myofibril, contain injured mitochondria and injured DNA even, due to the oxidative stress, due to the oxidative respiration. The basically the oxidation of the in the mitochondria produce reactive oxygen species and nitric oxygen species, which that basically will lead to basically damage the cell. And in this way, that cell injured will lead to necrosis, and apoptosis should be important, and autophagy related gene will activate. And in this way, the basically this is too much important, and the damaged cell should be removed. So that is why the when after the injured cell, so when you will not intake food and go into the fasting, that dietary restriction, so that basically cell will be removed, because the AMPK pathway increase due to the deprivation of the ATP in the cell, due to the dietary restriction and the deprivation of the ATP will trigger the cyclic AMP. And cyclic AMP basically which that is AMPK pathway, which that trigger the further going on the biogenesis of the mitochondria and homeostasis. If remember, if the cell is healthy, if the cell is basically unable to survive, and basically it should be survive through mTOR, but that mTOR pathway will inhibit, so due to the AMPK pathway. So this remember that things basically dietary restriction will increase the AMPK pathway, which that is the golden chance for survival of the cell if the cell is healthy. On the other hand, remember important thing is that the mTOR, basically what is the mTOR? mTOR pathway which that inhibit through resveratrol. On the other hand, the rapamycin, because the rapamycin basically itself is the name of the mammalian target of the rapamycin. So the rapamycin will inhibit, and resveratrol also inhibit the mTOR C pathway. So what is the benefit of the mTOR pathway? That is also we will understand. So during the fasting, and again you will recovery time, so that is important things. Basically the mTOR activation is also important, but when the activation of mTOR pathway is important, this is we will learn now. So when you dietary restriction, so your all damaged cell will be clear out. After this clearance of the damaged cell, so in this way the healthy cell will be left. Basically healthy cell will remain constant, and that is why due to the AMPK pathway. So this is during the dietary restriction, this is important thing. But after this, basically whenever you when you eat the food, when you should open the fasting, or when you should increase the nutrient rich condition in your cell for activate the mTOR pathway. This is the very reason why you should understand. So in this way, the mTOR C1 and C2, the Richter and Raptor activation, mTOR will activate the certain gene, RAS and mice gene, and other gene for the cell division, the cell cycle, cell growth, and cell proliferation even. So the cell basically biogenesis of the mitochondria, etc. but the mTOR will also trigger the damaged cell replication. So after the exercise, your cells will be damaged, your myofibril will damage, so you should don't eat any food after 10 or 8 hours exercise. After the exercise, after going to the gym, and after 8 hours, your autophagy will occur due to the fasting state. Even remember, important thing you should need to understand, fasting state, during the fasting state you should exercise. This is the main reason. So when you will go into the fasting and exercise, AMPK pathway activate, that will lead to injured cell recycle. If the repairable, so the AMPK pathway, which that will activate the certain gene for the repairing of the DNA, repairing of the mitochondria, repairing of the whole basically actin and myosin. So if it will not possible to repair but unrepairable cell, if that cell will grow, will lead to cause cancer, will lead to cause many problems. But it is not easy to survive because it is naturally that other compounds which that help to recycle and help to maintain and survive that cell, which that is basically healthy. This is the reason. So in this way, basically, I am talking, I am understanding about you when you should eat the meal. So after the hard work, you should take rest. During the rest time, you should don't eat because your clearance of the damaged cell is important. While on the other hand, the healthy cell should be maintained due to the AMPK pathway, and the longevity of the cell will increase due to the AMPK and SILT1 gene activation. So that is due to the fasting. So in this way, the dietary restriction will lead to get the most health benefit, like the if the cell will survive and healthy cell will live to, you can live longer, because your damaged cell, the basically the aging is the part of the damaged cell. Aging is progress due to the damaging of the cell, and certain gene again and again damage will lead to basically replicate and other basically and replication problem and the telomere shortness, which that all thing is due to the basically all collective things is basically an environmental problem, which that also target to the DNA, will lead to damage the DNA, or application more and more will lead to cause aging. So in this way, the mTOR pathway should be triggered after 10 to 10, not 10, even 5 hours later. So you should eat food which that's contain rich amount of the amino acid containing diet, like protein, which that's contain branching amino acid, non-essential and essential amino acid, and take supplement like vitamin containing multivitamin. And on the other hand, the important thing you should need to understand, the mineral containing green vegetables, you should uncooked green vegetable consume for the potassium, sodium, and the basically balance of the potassium. So potassium is the too much important cation, but it is intracellular, so require too much, so intracellular. And in this way, the excretion of the potassium in the blood, because intracellular, so our blood continuously excrete the potassium, while the sodium is the intracellular extracellular cation, so that is why it will reabsorb in the nephron. So in this is the potassium required, so that is why the green vegetables, so all things should be eat for the normal healthy cell, and that healthy cell basically left, while the damaged cell will recycle, because the AMPK pathway you are activating the SILT1 gene. And in this way, on the other hand, the drug rapamycin can inhibit the mTOR pathway. Whenever you will eat more and more food, so you can use the rapamycin for inhibit. And even the this is the main reason. So I hope you make sense about that basically. This is the important things, the mTOR and AMPK pathway, which that relation, and the dietary restriction. What is the benefit of the dietary restriction? So this is the major. I hope you make sense about that. All thing is clear here. So I hope you can get the concept for exercising, and you can grow more easily, more easily grow your muscle and build your stamina. And that basically routine you can check, and within the month you can get the result, positive result, because it is reality, basically. Whenever you will not eat, so your basically all things will clear. On the other hand, the dietary restriction also important for the digestive enzyme secretion more, because the digestive enzyme get the rest and inside of the epithelial cell and the digestive gastric pit, which that contain pepsin and other amylase, and on the other hand, the lipase enzyme, which that synthesis more, because they are also getting the rest. If you are intake again and again and again and again and eat more and more, that is very bad habit, and that will lead to cause aging even. So in this time you should need to understand basically the health benefit of the dietary restriction is too much important. So how much time required for the clear and get this benefit, the dietary restriction? It is unlimited. You can basically, I am not talking about the unlimited, but you can long it, and you can again and again exercise after fasting. Basically, one day you are restricting the diet between basically 5 hours, and again increase the hours, so you can approach the 24 hours fasting, even the 72 hour to 74 hour. Basically you can increase this time. So whenever you will increase more, so you can get the benefit more. So but I hope you make sense about that. But the different body will work differently, but the main point and the main cause of the dietary restriction effect and the benefit is that basically AMPK and mTOR. So mTOR is the cellular protein, and AMPK is also the cellular protein. So in this way, basically, which that correlate, and both are anabolic, but remember that thing, the AMPK is responsible for the autophagy, while the mTOR will not. So mTOR is basically autophagy not, but it will lead to proliferate and survive even damaged cell. These are the main things. Basically the damaged cell survive through mTOR, while the damaged cell not survive through AMPK pathway. So the AMPK pathway will trigger due to the dietary restriction, the energy deprivation, the energy restriction, and low caloric deficient state in the cell will trigger the AMPK pathway, because the ATP deficiency. So the deficiency of the ATP, so mitochondria is not working well. So in this one, not producing more ATP. So that is why also the AMPK pathway will trigger. So mitochondria biogenesis will possible due to the mTOR even, and on the other hand, we will understand about in the next video the PGC1 alpha, which that is important for the biogenesis of the mitochondria, but that is the different topic. So next video we will understand, and we are getting the knowledge, so basically understanding the life science. So I hope you make sense about that. If you like my video, please make sure to subscribe, like and share. See you in the next video. For this time, bye.